I am so excited to be here today with a costume designer I have just been dying to talk to ever since I watched the show A Knight of the Seven Kingdoms. Please welcome costume designer Lorna Ó Ríordáin. Hi Lorna, how are you?
Hi Spencer, nice to meet you.
I'm so excited to talk to you. Before we head over to Westeros though, I just have to say huge congratulations on the Emmy nomination. Outstanding fantasy sci-fi costumes. I mean,
Thank
Lorna,
you very
what
much.
was that moment like when you heard the good news? It's so exciting.
Wow, I mean it was incredible, and that so many of us, on the show got nominated. It's amazing. We're absolutely thrilled. Really, really proud of the show, and yeah, I think everybody had worked so hard. I know my department, they were incredible. So, I feel like, it's great for them. It's such a recognition of hard work, because it wasn't easy. There were some really hard, dark days. So I think to be recognized is fantastic.
I mean, you could tell by watching this show just how epic it is. The sets, the stunts, the action, the costumes.
Yeah.
It's a lot went into this. You could so tell from a viewer perspective.
Yeah.
So I'm excited to get into it. A Knight of the Seven Kingdoms takes place roughly between House of the Dragon and Game of Thrones. And for all those listening, I mean, there's a lot of years in between all of that. I won't get into it. But I'd imagine that kind of gives you the space to really approach the series as a costume designer with a fresh pair of eyes, in a way that allows you, your team, the showrunners, to put your own take on the costumes and the look of this series.
Absolutely. I mean, with respect to both shows, they're wonderful. And I think as we fell in between, and our story is very different to either of those stories and the journey of these characters, that it just felt right to do something different. And it did feel like a little fable, an adult and a child. There's so many elements to it that were quite a fantasy and a bit... It felt like, and it was mentioned later in Game of Thrones. So I think, we did feel like we could do something unique with this, and we didn't have to follow. Nobody actually lives. Actually, one person does, but nobody, goes on into the next series, or into Game of Thrones. So it did feel like we could be unique in the middle.
Yeah, I mean, in the first 5 minutes of this series, you could tell it's going to be a different one, which I really love. It's like you all set the standard quite early in the series, which was a lot of fun. So with that, I mean, when designing a massive fantasy series as this, I mean, do you look to other series, other media, other films, art for inspiration? What are you looking for before you get into something like this?
A lot of reading first. That kind of, really... something will, inspire you to look for something within the script. I think reading the script. I would look at art. I used to have lots and lots of books to do that, and I do a lot on the computer. I would do maybe a lot of sketching. I mean, my initial process is quite solitary, really. I kind of work it out on paper myself before I take it further, before I present it to anybody as an idea. And then the first person I would show my sketches to would be the showrunner, get some instant feedback, and then take it further. But I think there's a combination of just instinct. I think I'm quite instinctive about colour, about shape, and then obviously research. And if you ask me where I got something, I probably couldn't tell you because it's a combination of everything that's going on. There's simultaneously mood boards being made by myself, by my assistants, and then, I'm drawing as well. So where it comes from can be anywhere. But art, photography, not even period things. It can be something contemporary. It could be, something, that you saw in a film, the way something is lit, and that inspires you to take colour into something else. And all sorts of things.
I mean, that's kind of like the best part, honestly. I just could
Totally.
imagine your workroom and seeing what it's like in all your sketches.
That's the fun bit.
Yeah, yeah, that's the part I'm jealous of constantly, but whatever. So the cast for this series is really outstanding. Some incredible performances. And I know costumes as such, especially with a fantasy series like this, it really helps the actors get into, well, their own fantasy, understand who their character is. So I was going to ask you, how collaborative was your process with the actors of the series?
I always have a dialogue going with them. Now, a lot of them aren't cast until way into, we've been in prep a long time before, and
Yeah.
costumes have to be, we have to know what direction we're going in often before they're cast. So it's not always easy. Then you're obviously presenting, okay, this was approved, here you go. But you can't, you have to involve an actor. It would be really foolish not to. And I do always ask for their input on how they want to feel, how they can move in a costume. It's really vital, because if it doesn't work for them, it actually, what's the point? It doesn't work. And they often do bring something to the table as well. So it's really important, yeah. But it's great if you have them in advance. If you don't, it's a trickier process.
Yeah, then we make it work.
Yeah.
And we'll get back into movement later, because I feel like movement was a very important component to this series as well. But let's talk about some of our characters. The first I want to talk about is Ser Duncan the Tall, aka Dunk, for this podcast. Dunk is a hedge knight, which is sort of a wandering knight, and Dunk really feels lost at the beginning of this series. He's looking for purpose, I mean, essentially throughout the entire series. So therefore he's and there's a lot of references to how dirty he feels, and like this is probably his only pair of armor outfit. So I want to talk to you about how you were able to tell that story through costume, introducing Dunk to the Game of Thrones universe.
Well, I think, yeah, that was the key. Dunk had to be really simple, humble, threadbare. He had to look like he came from nothing, and vulnerable. Everything about him had to just merge into the background. Yet he's so big that everybody notices him. Yeah, and I think, you can see the innocence in his face. I think Peter, delivered that so well. And so I think, yeah, that was, would you believe, I mean, there was so much craft in that costume to make it so threadbare and so simple. And yeah, it had to carry him right through. I think he had maybe 2 shirts. And things were mended, and that's the way we need to present him. And then his armor was incredibly simple, because this is how he explained what armor should be to the armor in the Steely Pate, or character armor. So everything had to be just simple, or we'd be telling a different story.
Yeah, I mean, if you had the big ornate armor, then there probably wouldn't even be a series, honestly.
Yeah.
Because then you would be going through all this. And with that, tell me a little bit about like the breakdown, aging and dying of costumes. That felt very integral to this series.
It was.
Because they're in mud, essentially.
Oh yeah, all of it. I actually I'm really lucky. I had an incredible team of textile artists and breakdown artists with world-class skills, fantastic, and they would teach me tricks, along the way, of how to really manipulate things and make them, go through several processes. And I think you can see that in the quality of the breakdown. That these were all brand new fabrics, or constructed fabrics that are, things that we enhanced, and how they have a journey, which is really vital and tricky. And it's all difficult, because we go backwards and forth, and you need quite a lot of everything for the stunts, and especially if a character only has 1 or 2 looks, they'll need several of them. So it's quite a process.
It felt very vital to storytelling. I mean, every character that you see, you could tell that they've gone on probably a long journey to get here, and that was probably a little bit treacherous too. Unless you're a Targaryen, then they look great the entire time. But that's because they're Targaryens. Speaking of Targaryens, when we meet Aeg in the beginning, he is quite incognito. You would have no idea he's of some sort of royal lineage. He has this fantastic evolution where you see him as this very humble character to perhaps, that sharp, harsh Targaryen look that we've all come to know and love. So can you tell me a little bit about how you mapped out that evolution for Aeg?
We had to imagine that Egg, he's stolen these clothes, he's found them. There was nothing, he just probably stole them off that stable boy and gave him whatever in the inn. But they don't fit him very well. They kind of, and they kind of drowned him. And we just didn't want to give anything away. But I think, and if anybody was going to give anything away, it might be Egg with his attitude and his way too clever for Dunk attitude. But it was about stripping all that away, and even the colours, and he kind of fits in. He looks like him and Dunk look like a pair. To then, when we reveal who he is, it's with all the splendour and he doesn't look happy in his Targaryen look. He looks way more comfortable as a stable boy, and that was intentional.
Yeah, that's really interesting. I didn't think about like that. Like that almost felt like who Aeg truly was when he was the stable boy look. Because when you see him in that very royal Targaryen look, which is really cool, but you could tell that there's almost like a soullessness to it and him when he's there. I got to see that costume actually in person when I met you the first time, and I mean it's so fabulous. So I feel
and
like
the hat. Yeah, and the hat. You can imagine his father saying, "Put that on, cover that head."
Yeah, exactly. The hat is. I'm a big fan. But I have to admit, my favorite character from the beginning was Lyonel Baratheon. I mean, he's the party. He's eccentric, kind of peacocky. He's unhinged and just so much fun. So I have to imagine this was a character that you and your team had a lot of fun with too.
Yeah, unhinged. That's great. Like that. No, I remember. Daniel's great, and in the costume fittings, he would do all that, the dancing, in the fittings, and it was great entertainment. So then if your costume works, if somebody can give you that. But yeah, it was all of that to work with, and it could get really big with him. There was nothing. It was his party. It was his party tent. And those antlers were very heavy.
I was gonna ask. I mean, they looked pretty legit. I mean, how heavy was it? And he has to dance with them too.
Yeah, I think they might have been the real ones at one point. But we had a lot of fun with him, and this whirling energy that he has. That was great to design around that, and the skirt with its many layers and the colours. A really interesting process actually working out his design and his fabric, and I think all of that came before he was cast. I had to do that, and luckily it worked, and he brought more to it and how he'd wear it. But it was fun.
That's fantastic. I was going to ask you if he had to practice dancing in his costumes, because I mean, imagine his dancing really was quite extravagant and big and large and lots of movement. So it just shows to the proper construction of those costumes at the same time too, like very Dancing with the Stars take. But as you know, the series concludes with an incredibly stressful, tough 7 against 7 trial by combat. One of my favorite episodes of TV in a very long time. But each character arrived in their best looking armor. And I mean, I haven't asked my costume designers about this, but I have to imagine the armor was probably one of the more difficult challenges to a series like this, because those Targaryens, they're decked out, and I mean, so was everyone really.
Well, that was big time, and we had to start with that because armor is such a long build that that was my first challenge on the job, was to go completely into the armor, the deep, and have that all worked out. So that it was. It was extraordinary and fun and all new to me at the time because I hadn't done, you know, armor that had been, you know, fully built from scratch before. So this was quite a process, and yeah, but again, approaching it like character. So I think they weren't going into battle. Everybody was there for a tourney. It was fun. It was to show off when you're best. So I approached it like that. So it was their best looks to bring to the festival, and it was a show that became a really serious battle. So there's kind of a sad irony in it too, that it was, you know, quite a vicious battle in this kind of some of it frivolous looking armor. So each person was, you know, very individual in how they could afford armor, how over the top it was, and all within reflecting something the way a costume would of their personality, and then you know, so many doubles and stunt doubles, and you can imagine how they got destroyed.
That's going to be my next question was, I mean, tell me about the collaboration between your department and stunts, because I mean, they're riding on horses and getting thrown off horses, so the costume has to really allow them to be able to do that, to tell that story.
Absolutely. They're very involved with us in that part of the construction of the armor, and they tell us where they need movement and what will work and where they need to bend, and you know, and things that work and things that don't work for them, and the weight of things, and how helmets would open, and it was quite an involved process.
Just gotta shout out, Aerion Targaryen has like some of the coolest armor I've ever seen. So I mean, I know he's kind of a jerk, but like, I wanted his armor. Tell me about that specific piece. It was, I mean, it's one of the highlight images of the series. When you see that, you're like, oh, that's Knight of the Seven Kingdoms. Because it's been a long time since we've seen the Targaryens technically in this series.
I know, it was funny because he was my very first thing to start sketching, and in his armor, because I knew that had to be first going through, and I thought, oh my god! So I was drawing dragon faces. It just nothing was registering until I think we'd mood boards of just human faces, and I think there was something quite disturbing about just a human face in an old ancient mask, that we thought, okay, let's develop that and into something with flames, and so it evolved like that. And then the guy is so arrogant and vain that, well, of course he would present as himself at a tourney, and I think the whole punkish look to it,
I like that.
The rebel. You know, he's called Aerion Bright Flame, so there had to be a flash of something from his cloak. But there had to be something sinister and something. He's way more modern than the rest of the family in his head. So even though how he wears his chainmail just as a t-shirt with his cloak over it, that I think all of that just told you a little bit of something about him that set him apart from any other Targaryen and how they wear their armor. Yeah,
I feel like, to me, I felt like it's also said that he cared a lot more about his image compared to the other Targaryens. Of course, they're all sort of flashy because that's what it is to be a Targaryen. But you could tell that maybe he's a little bit more concerned with the vanity than some of the others that he was with. So I thought that came through quite clearly. Well, with that, Lorna, I'm so excited I got to talk to you. I love the series. I can't wait to see what's coming up next, but I won't get into that. So what has it been like seeing this wildly positive reception to this series and people loving the costumes, loving the show?
It's really great, and it actually has spurred us on into season 2. And it's been so fun and a great adventure, and we love it. We absolutely do.
I can't wait.
And Yeah, and really lovely to talk to you, Spencer.
Oh, well, thank you, Lorna. Costume designer Lorna Ó Ríordáin, thank you so much for being here. I love this series and I love your work, and I'm just dying to see what's coming up next. And I hope when it's out, you'll come back and talk to me about all the new, fun, and exciting challenges that I'm sure you're working through at the moment.
For sure. All right. Thank you.
Thank you. The Costume House with Spencer Williams is a production of The Art of Costume. This episode was hosted, produced, and edited by Spencer Williams. To discover more conversations with the designers shaping film, television, and theater, visit theartofcostume.com or follow us on social media at The Art of Costume. And don't forget to connect with me on Instagram at HostSpencer. If you enjoyed this conversation, be sure to follow and subscribe wherever you listen to podcasts or watch on YouTube. And stay tuned for more episodes celebrating the designers shaping today's most captivating films, television series, and stage plays.